Hello, this is Godel. Welcome back to me having accidentally pressed the chunk borders button. Feed the Beast Interactions Remastered. Let's go over quickly what I've changed since last episode. So I temporarily put away our little clay setup that was down here. Well, I mean, the barrels are still here, but the electrolyzer, macerator, and such, I put those away just because we have so much of the product right now. And also, I realized it wasn't really built in a great place, so, like, if we wanted in the future, we can just, make a new one in the future. But for now, I wanted to go ahead and make that space available for something else, or even just, like, walking around without constantly burning myself on steam. As I mentioned last episode, I did get around to finally upgrading all of our LV machines to MV machines. And the extruders are still over there. They're going to stay over there. Um, but right now, I don't have HV circuits to make the MV circuit assembler yet, so the LV circuit assembler is down here. And I also put the, I kind of changed how rubber production works a little bit. Instead of making it on demand, I just always have liquid rubber in this chemical reactor, and then I always have rubber sheets in that solidifier. And then this assembly machine here now manages all of the cable recipes, so it doesn't request rubber because rubber is just supplied in that machine, and then our circuit assemblers over there per usual, and those just have some steam turbines powering them from behind. Also, the basic canning machine is back there if we need to make more batteries. Didn't feel like making a MV version of that because it's not needed. So, that covers clay and MV machines. Oh, I can talk about these really quick. So I ended up making another bending machine and another wire mill, and then moving some recipes around. So there's now a wire mill with circuit 3, and that handles the fine wire recipes. Just because, why did I put the electrum in the middle of this card? Just because this is more efficient. Like, normally this would require 3 operations to get this much, and that would take a lot of time. So this would take 11.3 twice to make the fine electrum wires, and then actually making that also takes 7 seconds. So that takes like 30 seconds to make 8 fine electrum, whereas just making it directly from the electrum bar only takes 15. So it's like twice as fast processing, frees up the machine to do actual things that are needed as wires. And then similar story for the bending machine. I made a bending machine with circuit 10, and that's handling foil straight from ingots. So this is normally the same time, but if we look at the foil recipe, or the plate recipe rather, this is once again the same time as that. So again, it's like doubling the time to... Oops, I keep bookmarking it on accident. It's doubling the time to make that. So this, again, this halves the amount of time needed to be in the bending machine, and also doubles the amount of bending machine. So if we need foils and plates at the same time, it's not going to clog everything up. Other than that, all the machines are mostly the same. I moved a few things around, like the alloy smelter and lathe and compressor are now over here. In the front, we have the arc furnace and the chemical reactor I already showed you, and the fluid solidifier I already showed you. And then the rest of the stuff over here is the same. Chemical baths over here now. And then this is a new machine I made. This is the precision laser engraver, and we're going to need this for making circuitry pieces, which is maybe something we're going to be doing this episode. So that covers all of this. Oh, and this is actually out of date because I have done more new chemistry. I can't even type all of the stuff I did down there. So let's go down and we can talk about ore processing. So ore processing, I moved down here. It's just kind of in the middle of the basement at the moment. And this is more or less what I had before, but with some differences. So these two, I'll do a quick tour of this. These two are my inputs over here. So on this chest is where I would input things that would go into the, we go over to this part. So there's 2 processing chains you can take. You can take the direct processing chain via GregTech machines, or you can also do this magical processing machine track rather. And then once you get to the end, once you get your cluster, you can go back and do the GregTech. So this is an extra ore multiplication, but it's not available for everything. So basically I have to look and specify which ores it's available for before I can, put the ore over here. And then, so for the right side, it would just stick it in our chemical reactor, which is getting fed some liquid starlight, which I imported down here from the astral tower up here. I just use one of those fluid nodes to send it over here into this tank. So this tank is getting filled directly from the platform up there. And that's how this is getting filled. And it's also going to be providing starlight for the rest of our base when we need it. So that goes there and goes into the furnace. That makes the clusters. And then the cluster or non-clusterable ore is going to go into this input chest. Then the macerator macerates it. I have a filter here to pull out anything that's not crushed ores and send it to like the output basically. I have a bunch of filters on all of these crates. That's why I used crates, because you can put filters directly on the side. So the next step, it washes the ore, takes anything that's not washable out. Well, it takes anything that's not a sifter recipe out specifically. Sifter recipes stay and they go in the sifter. This catches stuff that would be like a washed ore, and for now I send it to a forge hammer because we will want to do the macerator and thermal centrifuge recipe later, but for now we do not have access to a high enough tier macerator, so there's no point doing macerator or thermal centrifuge. So we crush it, the ore gets centrifuged, and then I also have this set up here. This is for small dust. This is a packager, and this basically just combines items. So for example, I'm using it to combine smaller dust into full-size dust. And to do that, I am using a robotic arm inside of this crate to only supply exactly 4 items at a time, and that will make a small dust into a big dust. And I didn't mention while I was over here, but the input on our macerator also accepts flawed and chipped gems, because flawed and chipped gems actually do not have any uses, except there's one exception, is Certus quartz, Certus quartz chipped gems, chipped quartzite, and chipped nether. However, right now I'm not catching those exceptions because, like, we have a lot of those Thumbcraft slivers as is. Like, we have a lot of these quartz slivers, and we just don't need that many. So if we need more, I'll just take, like, some quartz and cut it down to chipped size, and then we will have plenty. Anyways, chemistry expansions. I added 3 things over here. I added this chemical reactor. I guess 4 things. This chemical reactor is making chlorine and hydrogen into hydrochloric acid. And these 3 reactors make water. Hold on. What is going on here? Something is wrong here. Sulfur trioxide? What? Oh no, this is correct. Okay. Yeah, I thought I was going right to left here, but this is actually going left to right. So this takes sulfur plus oxygen and makes sulfur dioxide. Then it adds more oxygen to make sulfur trioxide, imagine that. And then we add water to that and we get sulfuric acid. And then that output's right there. And this is controlled with a sulfuric acid less than threshold signal. Same for the HCl is also controlled by HCl less than threshold. And then on the other side over here, I did the stuff to do ethanol. So this is ethanol being made right here. First we take some petals and we use mana to duplicate them. I don't have a renewable source of mana right now. I just went out in a big pond and then made a signalum reservoir and just picked up like 2 ponds worth of mana. This duplication recipe uses a very small amount of mana, so I'm not worried about running out from that, but we might need to get a more sustainable mana source once we're ready to use mana for different things. But anyways, this takes a petal. Let me see if I can find the chemical bath. Okay, it takes any color petal and it makes 2 petals, so basically it duplicates petal with electricity and mana. I have this conduit self-feeding here. Self-feed is enabled, so it sends the petal back in here, but it also sends a petal over here to the brewery. The brewery uses honey, which is extracted from honey, from the honeycombs from the rustic bees, and that makes biomass. Biomass is then sent over here, which makes ethanol. And then ethanol is sent to our storage over here, and once again, it is controlled with an ethanol less than threshold card. And that is the additions I made. Oh yeah, these two over here. Um, I have a distillery here that catches diluted hydrochloric acid, and then a distillery here that catches diluted sulfuric acid. And those just, I was just kind of utilizing the space here. These just take recipes. Sometimes you use sulfuric acid and you like get diluted back and you have to reprocess it. These are just for reprocessing basically. Um, but you might have noticed that there's also more space here in between. Before I had the logic cable running straight down the middle, and as I was thinking about this, I was like, it would actually be better if there was an extra space in here so that we could use other tiles in here rather than having the logic cable using the entire middle row. So I spaced the machines out by one, and now they there's spaces where I can pull things towards the inside here. So like this centrifuge, for example, it was outputting to the side. So I was able to bring that side to the inside and then scoot it over. So this allows us to build our machines more together rather than being like really wide out. And then if we end up having a recipe that needs like 3 or 4 or 5 inputs or something crazy, we don't have to have as many things like around the machine or on the sides. In fact, at some point we're probably going to have, stuff where it's like coming here to do stuff to the front just because like, we're going to run out of sides on these blocks. But for now, this gives us more sides and then we can, we don't have to keep going the whole way down here. So that is the 4 new things I set up down here. This episode, what are we doing? We're going to be finishing up some plastic processing. That's what we're doing today. So the first thing I want to do is make plastic chicken. So plastic chicken is going to allow us to make plastic enriched eggs, which are going to be used for 2 things. We're going to be able to use them for making polymer clay, which we can use in the simulation chamber to get loot off of deep mob evolution data models, and then we can also use it in a chemical reactor with ethanol to get liquid polyethylene. And technically there's 2 ways to get liquid polyethylene. We can either take ethylene and add oxygen, or air, but the oxygen recipe is better, to get liquid polyethylene, or we can take the ethanol and add plastic enriched egg to get this. This one's actually a lot slower production wise. Like this makes 6 ethanol per second, and this one makes like 16 per second or something. I mean, here, I can do the math again. 216 divided by 8, 27. Okay, so it's like, this is actually 4 times slower, but plastic enriched eggs are unlimited and free, whereas ethylene, to make that, we have to use our ethanol plus, well, there's a few options here, but we don't have glycerol. And how do we get glycerol? No easy way, I'll say that much. Anyways, the way to get ethylene is ethanol plus sulfuric acid, so it's still the same amount of ethanol. Technically, this ethylene goes a little further because when we mix it with oxygen, we get a bonus, but this sulfur acid turns into diluted sulfuric acid, which then gets reprocessed and we lose, a third of it. So it's basically the cost is we have to do the sulfur, we have to do more sulfur input into the process and also more machines. This is also a higher power recipe. So I'm actually going to need, we will be doing this recipe for a little bit because I need to, I need some ethylene just to get the plastic chicken. But after we get the plastic chicken, we are going to be good to go. And I'm just over here looking around to see if I have any MV batteries sitting around in one of these because I'm going to need one momentarily. Looks like I do not. For now, I'm going to borrow the battery from over here and hope I don't forget / need it later. Let's make a chemical reactor. Oh, we already have an MV chemical reactor. Okay, we don't need to make that. I'm going to, instead of hooking this all up to all this stuff, I'm just going to hook this up to, like, bring buckets over here manually. And I'm going to stick the battery in here. That's going to be able to provide the buffer of power to make our ethylene. So I should probably bookmark this so I'm not over here trying to figure out what I am looking for in this book over and over. So, nope. Yeah, go ahead and bookmark that recipe. Did you like bookmark the recipe? Okay, yeah, you did. And then ethylene, here we go. And I hit favorite, not bookmark. Okay, so let's bookmark this one. So we need sulfuric acid and ethanol to make ethylene. And I think we only need about 4 buckets worth to be able to make the sulfuric, the plastic chicken. So I'm just going to take some cells. We can do, sure, we can do like 8 buckets worth because we have empty steel cells. Those are smallest cells. I mean, we have the smaller cells, but they're like too small. And then let me grab some ethanol is right here, and then some sulfuric acid is here. I really can't get in here to reach any of these from here. This is like perfectly blocking my sight. Come on. Okay, it's not letting me take the sulfuric acid, which makes me think we cannot have this in... We cannot have the sulfuric acid in this kind of cell. Can we have it in a different kind of cell? Do I have a different cell in my inventory? I do, but it has diesel in it. Ooh, okay. Let's just try our... I have a stainless steel cell. I'm going to grab that really quick, see if that lets me take the... Oh, yeah, see, this one says can handle gases, but this one can handle cryogenics and acid, so... that's okay. We're going to get some sulfuric acid now, and we only need, like, 4 buckets of it, so... Well, I'm going to go ahead... Whoops, got to put it in this slot. I'm just going to go ahead and dump both of them in there, and oh boy, this is using a lot of power for a minute straight, so this might actually be, This might actually be a little bit difficult here. Let me get some cells here. Oh, these cells also can't handle gases. Uh-oh. Or acids, I mean. Alright, well, let me get the ethanol I don't need out. So I can... How do you dump this? Right-click? Right-click. It's not doing anything, buddy. How about I stick it over here and then pick it back up? Yeah, there we go. There's our half of the ethanol that we don't need. And then, how do we get the sulfuric acid out of here? Maybe I can make this into universal cells? No, it's not letting me pick that up either. Okay. I guess I'm just gonna have to pick it up once it's done processing. Is this an acid as well? Yeah, diluted sulfuric acid is actually an acid. Who would have thought? I'm going to be back once this finishes processing up. It won't... I mean, it's going to take like 2 more minutes. 2 minutes and 21 seconds is how much longer it's going to take. 41, excuse me. And then, yeah, we're just going to move some stuff around, and we will have our ethylene ready to process into... that thing that we needed to make with it. That thing, yeah. Polyethylene, right. Alright, be back shortly. Okay, well, it's not quite done with all of the processing yet, but I did take the excess sulfuric acid out, and I went and put that back in its tank. And now I can go ahead... I guess we can't go ahead and move the diluted sulfuric acid out yet. I mean, I can start moving it. Which one's diluted? This one is diluted. So that's just taking diluted sulfuric acid and taking some water out and turning it back into regular sulfuric acid. And that is just going back into its tank over there. So that's like one reason why we had to have that overflow system, because there's sometimes just going to be things that are producing sulfuric acid or hydrochloric acid that we're like not making those processes make those acids because we want to, but like it's just part of the byproduct. And if we just void it, then we're wasting a lot of byproducts. So this lets us catch that excess sulfuric acid. You can see it going back in there. And is the last batch done? The last batch is done. Okay. So we can take our diluted sulfuric acid and stick that back in there. Alright, so we have now 4 buckets of ethylene. Next, we are going to mix this with some oxygen. And I think we're going to need like a lot of oxygen. So let me just grab a boatload of oxygen from our oxygen tank. And do we need a circuit for this one? I should really bookmark this recipe. Okay, bookmark this guy. So we need circuit number 1. Okay. Circuit number 1, please. And this is running on MV power. It is overclocked, though, because this is a LV recipe. I don't think I've talked a lot about what overclocking means, but basically when you overclock something, it uses double the amount of power and does it in half the amount of time. Which in total means you're using 4 times as much power. So instead of doing this 8 seconds at 30 power at 30 EU per tick, it's doing it 4 seconds at 120 EU per tick. So the total, instead of being 4800, is 9600 for one of these operations. And in fact, we are gonna run out of power here, so I'm just going to tell it do not overclock to MV so that it can actually, you can see now it's using 30 EU per tick. Yeah, don't overclock to that because it doubles the power use, but I can manually increase the speed. So now we're going 4 times the speed, but it's still half the power cost. Kind of funny. Okay, and we need more oxygen in here. I'm really just going to go until this ethylene is done. I don't think we need ethylene for other purposes yet. So, let's see. At some point, we'll be able to crack ethylene into doing stuff. Steam cracked ethylene, we could make methane out of it, and then hydro cracked ethylene, we could make ethane out of it. Ethane, I don't know what the heck we would use with that. We could steam crack ethane again. Steam crack ethane into hydrogen or methane, or hydro crack it. Oh, that was hydro crack. Steam crack it into ethylene or methane. Wow, I think we've gone full circle there. There's something else we could use ethylene for that's not cracking. Isoprene, which I don't know what that's for. Acetic acid, I think that's for something. We'll have uses for this down the road, but for now, we are all good here. Let me pick up my oxygen. I'm going to grab my plunger really quick, and we're just going to delete this extra ethylene. I'm going to take the polyethylene. Oh, hold on. There's a quest for polyethylene, right? Go back. Sulfuric acid glass vial. Why? Oh! Because it doesn't go in the stupid steel cell. That makes sense, actually. It's still annoying that you have to pick it up with a glass vial at all, but this is better than, you know. This is better than... I mean, honestly, it'd be best if we didn't have to do this. And then it gives us a whole ton of sulfuric acid. I wish I had that before. Are we going to overflow if we dump it in here? We are. Let me hang on to this sulfuric acid for now, because I don't want to dump it in here and overflow a bunch of sulfuric acid. Is it that big of a deal? Probably not, but still. Oxygen, let me put back into our oxygen tank. And then we have polyethylene, and that needs to be in a cell. Okay, so pet peeve. First of all, pet peeve is having to sell a bunch of, like, fluids randomly. Like, why do we have to put methane in a cell? Do we have methane in a cell over here? We have methane, but not enough for a cell. Okay. Like, why do we have to put chloroform in a cell? Like, these aren't... I'm not putting them in cells to move them around, so it's kind of dumb. And another funny thing is we go over here. One of these quests is like, look, we're not going to require you to bucket out this useless chemical because it's such an annoying quest book practice. Yeah, and then it still has us do it a bajillion times over here. Like, what the heck? Like, that's, so... What's the word? Hypocritical, I guess? I don't know. Anyways, we got that quest complete. It gives us some plastic sheets, woot, I guess. And next we can make polyethylene imminently. But first we're going to make our polyethylene chickens. Or not our polyethylene chickens, just plastic chickens, but they will be making polyethylene. So up here I have already prepared the ingredients for making 2 plastic chickens. Oops, I did not remember that these do not have batteries in them. And now I'm stealing the last battery from over here and hoping that I don't forget, because that's really gonna mess with the mess up the day of those extruders if they try to run. So yay, 2 plastic chickens. Let's go. And finally, with the plastic chickens, I am... Where's the rest of the liquid polyethylene? I will hang on to that. Final step of chickens, as per usual, is breeding them up. So I'm going to not do this on camera. I will be back when I am done doing this. So be back in a few. You know the drill. Okay, so quick thing I've decided to do while my chickens are finishing up over there. I've decided to go over here and grab my sulfuric acid tank. Yoink. And, okay, I was able to get it. Good. And this is sulfuric acid? Okay, good. Just double checking. And I'm going to come up here. I threw up an item on this pressure plate to pull out all of the EXP from this tank. And we're just going to go ahead and enchant this, enchant that bad boy over there. And I really wish that we had the improved EXP moving obelisk thing. We will be level 30 momentarily here. I really can't do anything to pick up these orbs any faster. I'm even going to speed up the faucet one more time just to get up to 30, okay? And grab a lapis crystal there, thank you. Upgrade this, please don't be soulbound. Soulbound and holding, okay, thank you. And I'm going to put our XP back. Funny how fast it drains, but it picks up so slowly. How's our chickens doing over here? They're doing alright. Just put a few more over there on the left side, and now our tank has a capacity of 540 buckets. And now we can put that in there, and it does not overflow it. And there we go. Nice. We can put this back in our basement, and right now our you can see over here our sulfuric acid turned back on because we don't have the tank there. So this formula is evaluating as, hey, we need more. There's none over here. And as soon as we put it over here, it's going to be, whoops, put it in the wrong spot. Nah, there we go. There we go, and you saw the sulfuric acid fly in over there, probably from both the basic distillery and this process over here. But it's still going because now the tank is so much bigger, it's so much further away from the threshold, it's gotta, close the gap between that threshold. So cool. That's taking care of that. Let's go check that our chicken is ready to go, and we're gonna need a roost, huh? Roost! We don't have any roost in stock. I should probably, like, automate making roosts, huh? Yeah, we can automate that really quick. No problem. I'm just gonna go over here, grab a crafting table, grab a logistic pipe, plop it up here. Roost, import, most likely wood. Do we want to oredict this wood? We probably want to generally oredict wood recipe, so let me actually go ahead and put a, what's this thing called? A fuzzy crafting table up here. Wow, my inventory is a disaster right now. I can't even find my drill. There it is, I put it in the chest. Alright, get that out of there. Fuzzy table now loaded. Let's do roost. We're going to put rubber wood in here as like the base, but then we're going to tell it to dictionary these planks. Okay, and then the hay bales we're also going to need to make. That one can be a regular crafting table. Whoops, accelerated the chest. Oh yeah, and then we need this fuzzy module in there. Oh, come on. Alright, we need hay bales, and we are just going to use wheat and string. Yeah, we don't need to dictionary those. Import that, import this, and it does recognize the dictionarying, so we are good over there. Alright. And now we can make a roost. All of that so we can make a house for a chicken, eh? Let's get some of this stuff out of my inventory. That's sufficient for now. This can go back in the tool belt. I like always take stuff out of my tool belt and then forget to put it back in there. Alright, and our chicken should be done. Yep, we have 16. That is enough. I'm going to leave the 5 extra over there. We're going to grab our roost, and we're going to need a supplier. Actually, the supplier provider pipes are all down here already, so I do not need to grab another one of those. It is right here. Wait, not supplier. We need the other one, provider, which we do not have. So maybe I should have ordered it ahead of time, but yeah, I guess it's on its way now. Really quickly gonna just temporary. Should I disconnect the pipe where I have ordered it here and it needs to come through that pipe? Maybe I shouldn't disconnect that, huh? Let's just give the pipe a second to get over here. There it is. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect it for a moment. Do I want to do like all of my chickens up here on the ceiling? Like, I guess, why not? Alright. Oh, and then one thing I forgot, in this one, I saw in the system earlier I was able to request chickens out of here, and I'm like, I don't think I want to request chickens out of here, so I should make it, include the specific thing it's making, so that it doesn't accidentally pull the chickens by some freak disaster, I don't know. Alright, plastic is being made now. Huzzah. How much polyethylene do we think we're gonna want? Because I'm looking over here. We don't need this MV chemical reactor down here anymore at the moment. I am looking down here, and polyethylene, it makes it in 1,000, and these tanks have a buffer of 1,600, so this could hold 16 buckets of polyethylene. And then what would we use polyethylene for? So we would use it for, like these recipes in the assembler, which require it in fairly small amounts, like between 72 and 144 and 288 millibuckets. So that's not like a huge demand. 16 buckets of that would be kind of a lot. Some is used in the autoclave, and then some is used in a different chemical process. So honestly, my thought is I'm going to just leave it in the chemical reactor, and I'm just going to supply it from the chemical reactor. So let's go ahead and let's see. We need ethylene and polyethanol. No, polyethanol is what we're making. We need ethylene and the plastic eggs. So we need an item, and then we need a fluid, and then we're going to be outputting an item. Not outputting, supplying a fluid. So we need 3 connections on this block here. Okay, since we need 3 connections, I would like to do it in the front, back. Sorry, not the front. The back and then the sides. So let's do one over here. Let's do like the item in the back. And then we can do the provider on the side, and then we'll do the supplier over there. Here we're going to need to supply ethanol. Here's some ethanol, and we're just going to supply 4,000 at 2 bucket intervals. Then here we're going to need plastic eggs, and this I'm just going to set for, I'm going to have it keep 2 stacks in here actually. And then we are going to need to not have this be connected to that chemical reactor, because I don't want it to get confused about what tank it's providing stuff to. So really quickly, let me make a disconnection upgrade. Whoops, that one. Stick our disconnection upgrade in here, and then we need to configure it with the red remote, which is a little annoying, but there we go. So that's no longer connected to that chemical reactor. We need our wire to come under here. I just put the wires away, gosh dang it. Mana infused wires. Here they come. Whee! And they're invisible for some reason. I love that. Put that there. This wire's got me peeping out, actually, so hang on, let me fix that really quick. Okay. And then put that there. And then we can drop our chemical reactor here. And that should work. Oh, why didn't I use the top? I didn't use the top of this block. I'm dumb. Let's pick this back up. I'm gonna put this back away. We don't need it right now. Get our wire cutter. Undo the thing I fixed. Scoot this over, and we cannot move these pipes with dollies, or at least I tried earlier, and it really hated when I did that. And, like, it broke my dolly. I had to spawn a new one. So here we go. Let me just configure ethanol again. Ethanol, 2 buckets, and keep 4 in there, and then here, plastic chicken, or plastic egg. And then I want to keep 2 stacks. Alright. And then, oh yeah, we cannot have the... what's it called going over here? We can't have the output slot on the back. I get the... Hello? There we go. Okay. Do not auto-output or anything. Actually, it's probably going to be fine to auto-output over here because I was just looking at polyethylene, and I'm thinking we can also auto-output it into a chemical reactor that makes PVC, polyvinyl chloride. Oh, but wait, we need a... Oh, shoot. We're going to need to have a third output on here. What is PVC going to take? PVC is going to take chlorine. So we're going to need 1 connection to it. We're going to need an input. So it's going to need to be like this. It's going to need to have 3 connections. And I'm pretty sure you cannot provide from 2 different sides. Yeah, so let's do the provider pipe here. You see me like bugging out from these connections here. Let's do... Now, like, I'm looking at it, and I was like, what we had before was fine, actually. Now we're gonna have to do, like, a similar thing. Anyways, so let's just go ahead and do, another fluid provider, and a fluid supplier, 2 fluid suppliers, actually, this time, instead of an item. So here we go, we're going to need a fluid provider, fluid supplier. Gosh, why am I like this? We're gonna need that disconnection upgrade one more time. Another chemical reactor. We're gonna need some more pipes as well. Let me grab that. A couple basics just in case we need them. Alright, this disconnection upgrade goes here, except we need to disconnect it from this side now. Okay, so that is now connected how we want it. This is going to be a basic here. This is going to be the provider pipe. You know, now I'm looking at this and I'm even more peeved because I'm like, why did I put the provider pipe on the side here and then on the top there? Oh, Lord. Okay. Sorry. Now I gotta fix this. Put that there. Put our disconnection upgrade back in here. Where'd it go? Where did the disconnection upgrade go? Oh, it's like down there. It fell down into the wires. Alright, so that disconnection wire upgrade we don't have to redo. Ethanol. Please be the last time I configure this pipe. I'm tired of configuring it. Okay, finally, all set. And then this needs a connection over here. We can do an unrouted right here. I could also connect one right over here, but like an unrouted here or a basic here. Unrouted is cheaper. This one's going to probably need to be a basic because it's going to continue on that way. And finally, to finish setting this up, we need polyethylene. I think it's actually not called polyethylene. I think it's just called plastic for some reason. Yeah, fluid plastic.name. We're going to, again, request 4,000 in 2,000 increments, and then we also need chlorine. And we're going to do 2 buckets, 4,000. And it should come over here and start making us some PVC as well. So hey, look at that. We've knocked out 2 chemicals rather quickly. Can't help but notice it's neither of them are coming here. Is it because... Oh, it's because I had the back. I always forget the outputs do not like going into the stuff, so... Oh, in this particular case, the plastic's not coming because the plastic's not ready, so it needs to finish cooking up over here first, and then it will be able to come. We're also using like quite a bit of power over here. Do we need... Yeah, we do need this. This is going to take a while before the ethanol is kind of built up over here, but once the ethanol is built up, this is going to turn off, because right now this ethanol process is using 30 plus 12 plus 3, and then when this runs, it uses like 120, but it runs very quickly, so that one's not really an issue. But yeah, this is using like 50 over here. This sulfur production is using about 20. This is using 24. And in total, we're providing 128. But yeah, anything else running is going to like very much challenge this. We're making, what is this one making? Oxygen? Oxygen's using 20. But no, this is good. I do kind of want to get rid of this diesel cell I have, so I'm going to cut that line and wait for this diesel to drain. And probably at some point I'm going to forget, and I'm going to come down here and be like, oh, why are all the machines off? Okay, so plastic chicken, done. Boom. Hey. Awesome, love to see it. Do we have polyvinyl chloride yet? No, because it needs to have 4 buckets, I think. I think that's what its problem is. I might have made a mistake with that. Time in a bottle there. Oops, I am so sorry, machine. Can you take a medium volt battery? No, you cannot. Okay, well. Oops-a-daisy. I can't give more juice to these generators either, because it might burn the wires out. So I'm just going to have to deal with the consequence of my action. Oh, I do have this. There we go. We can dump some in there. Is PVC a quest in here somewhere? I don't even see PVC in here. I'm pretty sure we, like, use it for something. Oh, we need hydrochloric acid vial just for the quest. I'll go grab that really quick. Which one's hydrochloric acid? This one is hydrochloric acid. Alright, quest complete. Okay, well, we now have some PVC. I think the reason I wanted to make PVC is because we're going to use it for sheets or plates or something, and then those we're going to use for capacitors and stuff, so... Like, we're going to need to make these SMD capacitor. SMD does not mean what you think it means, by the way, unless you know what it means. It means surface-mounted device. Anyways, I'm going to step away for a little bit, and then we will continue. Okay, so after all that said and done, I've looked over here, and I'm like, I'm kind of having a change of heart about this situation with the fluid solidifier over here, just because I'm like, well, now we have liquid polyethylene, and we need to make polyethylene sheets, and we're also going to have liquid polyvinyl chloride, PVC, and we're going to need to make PVC sheets, and it's like, well, what do I freaking do with this? And I'm like, And also PVC. I'm looking at PVC and, we need bars for a few things as well. And how do you make bars? Well, you need to solidify them as bars. Or you need to make it a pulp and then extrude it as a bar. Why would we need a bar, though? Bar is needed for extruding. Oh, wait, we can extrude the pulp. Never mind. Okay, we're fine on that. What about PVC? Oh, PVC, yeah. PVC is what I was looking at. So the thing we might want for PVC would be pipes, but pipes we can make with the pulp. Okay, so we can just macerate the sheets. That's fine. Yeah, macerate the sheets in here somewhere. There it is. For polyethylene, is that the same situation? Do we need polyethylene bars for anything specific? Not specifically that I'm seeing. I mean, if we wanted to make the thin polyethylene sheets more efficiently, but I think we're okay, actually. Still, though, I think we're going to go ahead and change this up really quick. So let me take out the rubber. Let me put this from putting liquid rubber out automatically. And, excuse me, what? Why did this just trigger for that? Plate rubber. I didn't pick up plastic plates. Okay, I'm slightly confused. Because it says I picked up a polyethylene sheet when clearly I have not picked up polyethylene sheets. Anyways, I'm going to let the rubber drain out of here, and then I'm going to redesign this really quickly. We're going to, instead of providing sheets just being stored in here, we're going to set this back up to be a chassis. And probably a chassis Mark III is fine. And I'm going to need a few of these guys. Module, we're going to need a few of these guys. So let's set this back up over here. And I'm going to set a fluid satellite up here, but I want it to... There's been some issues with fluids bouncing around, so I want to make sure it doesn't become an issue. So I'm going to use a buffer. Well, I have two options. I can either use a buffer or a quad pipe. So down here, I use a buffer and a quad pipe. I think I'm just going to use a buffer because it's going to look less ugly, I think, than a quad pipe. A quad pipe's going to be, like, hella ugly. So let's make a buffer. Make one of these guys. Alright, and we're going to be making at least 3 things in here for now. So let me chisel those, and also I'm going to need a disconnection upgrade, and then 3 fluid crafting upgrades, and then a module upgrade. So the module upgrade is going to go in there. This is going to turn into 3 crafting modules. And then these are going to be making polyethylene sheet, PVC sheet, and then a rubber sheet. What is the sheet? Stick these in here. And then we need to give it an input. Also, I need to get this excess rubber out of here. Where's my plunger? Alright, this is empty now. Alright, here's our buffer. Buffer's going to sit right here. Then I'm going to connect a disconnection upgrade to this guy. Tell him, hey, you don't touch that buffer. And then we are going to put our liquid satellite here. And we are going to... This machine's getting a little crowded, but that's okay. We're going to make our liquid crafting modules now. That was the wrong kind. They look kind of similar. And we can go in here. And we are going to say, oh, we need to specify the satellite first. Okay. All right, boom, here's our satellite. And we're going to say this is plate solidifier. So plate solidifier is now going to... Can I put stuff in here first? Oh, I can, okay. Well, that's the wrong item, though. Okay, plate solidifier. You are going to take plastic. And you need 144. Next up, for PVC, we need PVC. You go to plate solidifier and you need 144. And then last up, we need a rubber. You are going to take liquid rubber of 144. Okay, and then let's test this. So PVC sheet, does it work? It should go down there and request the PVC from the chemical area. It should stick it in this buffer. Just remembered something else I'm going to need. Okay, it has brought the PVC. Yay, PVC, right? Except we need the PVC in there, so I'm making a pump really quick to actually move the PVC from here into the machine. So this should only take a moment. It's doing the tin rotor at the extruders right now, and the bronze fluid pipe. Uh-oh, how's power down here? Power survived, okay, power survived. We're fine. Just a moment of respite here while we wait for this. There we go. All right, here's our pump. Pump's now going to put the PVC in the solidifier. It's going to finish crafting, and it's going to throw it out of the top and send it here. Yay! Polyvinyl chloride sheet. Woot! Polyethylene sheet, because we didn't actually make one earlier, even though the quest is like, oh, you did it, and like, no, we didn't actually. So here we go. Should come in shortly. There it goes. Yay, and now we actually completed the quest, so now I will claim this, and I will eat this jambalaya immediately. That sounds delicious. Okay, good stuff. Now that we have polyethylene, though, we can change some recipes. So some things I'm thinking that we can change, for example, LV machine hole. Actually, just machine holes in general. We've been using this recipe here, but we can actually cut out the extra wrought iron and steel here by using this this recipe in the assembler. So we might go, I might go and do that, optimize some things that we can now do in our assembler. But I think that's probably actually a good cutting up, good point to wrap up, that's the word, this episode. However, let me think. I wanted to do circuit upgrades. Let me do circuit upgrades because I'm going to feel bad doing circuit upgrades off camera. Circuit upgrades I want to do specifically are... I want to make HV circuits. And you're like, wait, you're going to be able to do that now? Yeah, I am. So in order to do this, we need to make HV circuits. The first kind of HV circuit we're going to be able to make is the advanced integrated circuit. But to make that, we need good integrated circuit, which is a different kind of MV circuit. So right now we're currently making this kind, right? We're making the good electronic circuit, but we want to make the integrated circuit. So that's gonna need some stuff which we have. We just like need to make it. So let's just put together our recipes really quick. So let me make a crafting recipe for this. How did... Okay, I was confused there for a second. So we need a crafting recipe for this, we need a crafting recipe for this, and then we need a crafting recipe for... We also need a new tier of LV circuit. So we need these three LV crafting recipes. And in order to make this, we're going to need integrated circuit chips, and we're going to need RAM wafers, which... fortunately for us, are not super expensive in Minecraft, but they are in real life, so that's unfortunate, especially if you're trying to play Minecraft. So we have our precision laser engraver, and it's an MV1, so we can use this recipe to make some integrated logic circuit wafers. And then some RAM wafers we're also going to need. So in order to make these, we need a green lens of some kind, and in order to make the integrated circuit ones, we need a red lens of some kind. So let me first see what kind of lens I made. I made a blue lens earlier. So for the lens, we can use exquisite gem, and we can put it in the lathe to make a lens out of it. So let me go ahead and grab a ruby and sapphire, which is going to be a red and green respectively. And those are going to take a minute to cook up, so good thing I'm doing this now. Let's make the recipe cards while those are cooking up, because these are going to take a while to assemble. They have a lot of items in them. We're also going to need to make transistors. Yeah, transistors we need polyethylene for, so like I was kind of stuck not being able to do this until we did this. Silicon, I think I'm going to have to cook in the... Ooh. I'm going to need to cook this in a EBF, but I'm also going to have to... I'm also going to have to cool the ingot because it's going to make a hot ingot, and it's going to need Kanthal coils. Oh, buddy. Okay, we might not be doing this today. Let's see here. I'm going to put together what I can, and then I'm just going to walk through, I guess, what I'm going to do between episodes. So first of all, circuit. This makes one, and it needs two of these. This one is going to be making two of these, and it needs two of these. And then this one is making two of these. And this does not need vacuum tubes, so that's kind of the upgrade on this, is that you skip vacuum tubes for this tier. Now we need integrated circuits. This one needs two, and this one needs one. This needs a circuit board. Can we not make the plastic circuit boards yet? No. I mean, we can make them, but we can't use them yet. Can this use the lower tier circuit? No, it has to use that tier. Okay. So we're making that one over here, and then over here we are going to make... whoops, have to grab it from here. I'm trying to, like, put these together at the same time. Okay, so resistor... these do accept the SMD resistors, but we can't make those yet. Those need an HV assembler, so we're just going to put regular resistors in here. Two resistors in here. We need a RAM chip in here. Not RAM wafer. What is this called? It's just called RAM. Oh, no. RAM egg breg. There it is. Transistor in here. Find electrum. Find electrum wires. And then annealed copper bolts. I might go and make bolts into a into its own extruder, because we're starting to need a lot of bolts, and the cutting machine is gonna be annoying having to make rods and then bolts for everything. Okay, so this is done. Just checking the recipe. Okay, yeah. This one looks done. So I'm gonna throw this up there. Now we need diode. We need two of these. This one also needs two diodes. And then here we're going to do silver bolts. 4 silver bolts, and then fine gold wire. 4 fine gold wire. So that one should be done. Just double checking it. Yep, this looks good. And then finally, fine copper wire. 2 of those, and then tin bolt. Okay. Good, good. And now we can, in theory, order a circuit. Except it's going to be very mad about some things. Yeah, we can't make silver bolts, we can't make RAM, we can't make integrated circuits, and we can't make annealed copper bolts, so we need to sort those things out. We also can't make transistors. Did we... Oh, we must have gotten some transistors from a quest reward or something. Well, we're going to need to make our own anyway. 16 is not going to cut it for the rest of the game. Let me demonstrate the laser engraver really quick. So we have our lenses now. I can go over here and just dump a lens in here and be like, yo, laser engraver and wafer. I forgot the wafers. Wafer. And we're probably going to be using, I guess it doesn't really matter what we're using here. Let me just request them all, because why not? I'll just make half and half with each one. So here we go. This is how this machine works. You put a wafer with a ruby lens, and it's going to make a ruby lens coated etched wafer. Something rather. I don't know. That's just how it works, okay? I didn't program it. So this is going to make a integrated circuit, and then that I can put in the cutting machine, and we will have the cut integrated circuits, and those will be used for the machine. However, because this requires moving the lenses around, either I'm going to have multiple of these laser engravers, or I'm going to have to make them in bulk, and I think I'm probably just going to stick with making these in bulk. So these are going to be running off the episode. Let me see what else we needed for the other circuit. I think I need to automate more things just between episodes, so it's not going to be too much. I might automate sodium persulfate. How do we make this? Sodium bisulfate, which is made with salt and sulfuric acid. That makes hydrochloric acid and sodium bisulfate. Could also make sodium hydroxide. You know what? This recipe seems really nice, actually, to make sodium bisulfate, because that's something we kind of have as an excess at the moment. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do this recipe. I'm going to automate this between episodes to make sodium bisulfate, which we will use for sodium persulfate. Whoops. And sodium persulfate we can then use with a chemical reactor to make our boards more efficiently. Can we make this board more efficiently? Oh yeah, we can. We already do that in the assembler with glue. Okay. So we want to make this one with this. That's going to be automated between episodes. And then there was one other thing I saw that I remembered. This guy, transistors. We're going to need to automate this, which means we also need to get, let's see, we're going to need that automated as well. Oh boy, we're going to need a lot of stuff automated here. We're going to need silicon cooked in our EBF, which means we're going to need to quench the hot silicon in a vacuum freezer, which I'm not going to make next time, but I will make the chemical bath to quench this. That just uses, what is this, water? Or distilled water also works. Yeah, I'll work on getting this together next time. Hello, this is Godel. This is going to be a quick mini update. I know we're supposed to be at the end of an episode, but oh, what is this? Update, wow. So, just since the end of last episode, I've finished a few more things, and I just wanted to get them on camera, but there's like a good amount of stuff I want to kind of do, and it's going to kind of be busy work, but I don't want to make it like just be a jarring experience between episodes, so just going to really quickly go over these, and then I will go off, and next time you will see all of the changes I've done. So number one, Canthal is now installed in our EBF, and I upgraded our EBF patches to high voltage. They are being powered by diesel in combustion generators, so here's what that looks like. Woohoo, I guess, right? Yep, smoke and stuff back here. Good thing pollution is turned off. Pollution sucks, by the way. If you ever play Greg Tech, just turn off pollution. Anyways, we are currently smelting up some stainless steel, actually. That's what I'm doing over there. Had this interesting setup I made for actually mixing up the stainless steel. So the problem with the mixer is that, like, there's all sorts of recipes in here that use all sorts of different program circuits, right? I'm trying to find some, but it's all proving me wrong. Okay, here we go. So, like, all of these, 1, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, And the problem with this is like if I set up automated recipes on it, it's gonna like have some kind of conflict at some point. So instead what I've done is I made this firewall pipe that lets me specify, hey, allow or don't allow certain stuff through the network. And what I did is I allow items from my main network, but I don't allow crafting over this pipe. So this firewall pipe can get the items, and then I can request the items via this request pipe. So stainless steel, I can request to craft stainless steel here. But if I go back to my other main crafting table, stainless steel, we cannot request to craft that. So that stainless steel just appears here, and then I can pull from there. So that was just an interesting thing I did there. Deep Mob Learner, I made one here. I haven't filled one, but I'm gonna do some stuff with it. And then sodium persulfate. Sodium persulfate is another chemistry process over here. I use... What do I use? I use the sodium hydroxide from this process over here. Gosh, I forgot what process this even is. Which process was making sodium hydroxide? The brine process, that's what it is, the brine process. Speaking of, we don't have brine. I'm going to have to look into that, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'll do it off camera. So sodium hydroxide is made with... Not sodium hydroxide, sorry. Sodium hydroxide is made with the brine process. The sodium hydroxide is used with sulfuric acid to make sodium bisulfate, and then the sodium bisulfate goes into an electrolyzer to make sodium persulfate and hydrogen, and sodium persulfate is used for all manner of circuit boards. So that's that. And then I guess some things I'm working on in between, and probably this will be up in the next episode before I start recording it, is I'm working on upgrading diesel to the next step of diesel production, which is to get it cetane boosted. So cetane boosted diesel, this is going to need advanced mixer and HV mixer, and it's going to need tetranitromethane. And then tetranitromethane is going to be made with, I'm going to be using this recipe here, this one, methyl acetate and nitric acid. But I'm also going to be upgrading the actual diesel production itself. Instead of using this light and heavy fuel mix, I'm going to use empowered oil, which is going to require making empowered canola seeds and putting in crystallized oil, basically doubles it. And that step is requiring liquid starlight, infinity dust, and crystallized canola, which we're already making. So it's just going to be a slight expansion of what we already have. But yeah, just wanted to go over that really quick, and next time you will see progress, probably a lot more progress. You're not going to come here and see like all this, like oops, all HV now suddenly. Nah, nothing crazy like that, but we will be doing some stuff. As you can see, I've started cleaning up some stuff, preparing some other things, etc. This is where I set up the circuit board crafting, and yeah, there's just going to be more stuff, and I'm thinking I'll see how much I do before I start the next recording. Oh, and then one more quick thing I wanted to note. Right now, I run this on LAN. Basically, I run it in single player. I'm thinking to move this to multiplayer so that the server can run and I don't have to have the game open in the background and it's making noise and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's another change I'm probably going to make between next time. Kind of a technical change, and I might also update to the most recent version of the Modpack, because currently I'm on insert Modpack version. Looks like 14.1, and the latest version is 16.0. So I'm going to look at updating my Modpack version as well. There might be some visual changes. But anyways, that's going to do it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.